There are multiple ways to highlight operations, and if you want to be a really good Opcenter APS user, I recommend you memorizing and mastering those abilities, those features. And here, if you watch our editor window video previously, you know that you already can use the editor in order to highlight operations. And to me, this is the most flexible way. So for example, you can put here any filter you want. So let's say I want to filter this information here and all operations that are greater than 40, for example. So after you do that, you can Control A to select everything, right click, highlight options, selected records, or you can come here into view, highlight selected records, or you can press F7. And then when you come back to the Gantt chart, you see that only those operations are highlighted. Another option here is by using this highlight enablement toggle. So if you click on it now, those filters, they are automatically applied. So if I remove this filter, for example, now more stuff is highlighted. Personally, I don't recommend using this, but it works really well and it's up to you to decide. I will be creating a dedicated video, and those buttons here, those functions here, they are called advanced filters, and I will be creating a dedicated video to explain them. All right? Okay. So another thing that I want to do, so let me again highlight those records. You see that you have relationship arrows for highlighted operations. And also you can see, even though they are with this grayed out color, you can still see operations that are not highlighted. You can change this behavior if you come here into view, show highlighted operation or relationship, which is currently enabled. And if you disable it, you see that those relationship arrows goes away. Another function, it is coming here into view, highlight option, show outline. So if you disable this functionality, this toggle, you see that everything that is not highlighted goes away. So this is a clean way to show what is currently highlighted. Okay. Again, this is personal taste. You can decide what you want to have. All right. So another option for highlighting is if you right click any operation, you have these highlight options. And from all of those options, you see there is shortcuts associated to them. So let me go through those shortcuts real quickly. If you hold your Alt key and left click, you're gonna highlight all related operations. So operations from the order that you left click and from orders that are linked to that same order. And if you hold Alt and Shift key, now only operations from the same order will be highlighted. So for example, here I'm just Alt and left click, and now left click with Alt and Shift key pressed at the same time. Another useful shortcut is holding the Control key. When you hold in the Control key, you are adding to the current selection. So right now I'm just holding Alt plus Control and left clicking. But if you hold Alt, Shift, and Control, then you are adding just operations from the same order. And of course, if you see that you can just add and remove as well. All right, so if you right click here, come back to highlight options, what I explained to you is this all related operations with Alt click, an entire order with Alt, Shift, and click. All of those 6 other options requires you to press right and left arrows. So by default, this option here, zoom and scale, scroll lock is disabled. Right now it's enabled in my environment, but I will disable to demonstrate for you. So because this scroll lock is disabled, if you left click or right click on your keyboard, so the directionals, I'm talking about the directions now, you're gonna navigate horizontally in your Gantt chart, which is the same as holding Control and drag and drop, which in my personal opinion, it's a much better way, all right? So let's enable that scroll lock again, and now left key right key, or right key doesn't do anything. So if you hold your right key and your left click, you are highlighting the current operation plus all next immediate subsequent operations. In this case, we just have one, but this operation here is operation 20. So let's say we have multiple operations 20. So in this case, all of those operation 20 would be highlighted as well. If you hold your left directional key and left click, you are highlighting the current operation plus the previous, this immediate previous operations. If you hold your right key, and you can play with these two options, adding shift. So if you add shift, what you're doing, you are adding all subsequent operations. So right key, right key directional plus shift, you are highlighting all subsequent operations. Just the right directional key plus left clicking, you are highlighting only the immediate subsequent operations. And that is the same for left key. Left key plus shift, it's going to highlight all previous operations. And also we have the, if you hold left and right at the same time and you left click, all you're doing, you are highlighting the immediate, previous, and next operations. And you also can do left, right, and shift, and you're gonna highlight all previous and subsequent operations. So coming back here, you see that we spoke about the subsequent operations with right key plus click, all subsequent operations when you hold shift, previous operations with your left key, all previous operations with the shift plus left key, bidirectional operations, right and left keys, and all bidirectional operations holding shift, right and left keys, okay? All right, so there is another option here. If you come into view, you see there is this highlight menu. This menu here is very similar to what you have in here. So you see this cancel all highlights is also available in here. And all of those options, they are also available here. Only this show outline, it's not available here, okay? So I'm gonna be using this key from now on. So clicking here, oh, they included the show outline as well. So I apologize for that. The show outline is now in here as well. So you have highlight, locked operation, active operations, early operations, and all of those options. Let me now just schedule one order. Okay, so I want to schedule the very first order here, which is this one. Yeah. Okay. Here, I'm gonna go from top to bottom, okay? So highlight locked operations and active operations. So if your operation has this lock operation flag enabled, and if it has the use active times enabled, then the locked operations will highlight operations that have the lock key, lock field true, and active operations will highlight operations that have the use active times toggle true. Just for your information, use active times, it's related to operation progress, okay? There are more functionality associated to that, and that is for a different video, all right? Okay, so early operations. Let me drag and drop this here. For example, this operation here, it's waiting material to be available, and it's being supplied by this milestone here. So if I schedule, I'm gonna drag and drop. Oh, I need to disable the use active times. So I'm gonna drag and drop this operation so it's starting before the availability of material. For Opcenter APS point of view, now this operation is earlier. That's why it's highlighted with green. In the same fashion, if you, for example, I'm gonna pick up here, and if you have an early start date assigned to one operation, and if that operation is scheduled before the early start date, then it will also be highlighted in green. So if you come here and highlight early operation, those two operations in this case will be highlighted. Okay, so let me undo. Highlight operations within deliver buffer and orders within deliver buffer. So let me see if this operation has a delivery buffer. It doesn't, so let me include here 20 hours. Now this operation here has a delivery buffer, and if then the end time of this operation is within the due date of the sales order or this due date over here. In this case, it's unspecified, but we have the supply date which is taking place because of the linking here, okay? So if it's between this minus 20 hours, if the end time is between this due date minus 20 hours, then it's considered to be within the delivery buffer, and it's highlighted with this yellow color here. So now if I come here, highlight operations within the delivery buffer, this operation will be highlighted. Now, orders within the delivery buffer, that means just one operation needs to be within the delivery buffer in order for all operations from that order to be highlighted. Late operations and late order behaves very similar. So let me delay a couple of operations here. So if I highlight now late operations, those two operations will be highlighted, and late orders, all operations that have at least one operation late will be highlighted. Okay, so let me reschedule. I need to remove the lock here. All right, so now we go into this delayed operations and bottleneck operation. This is a little bit complex to explain, but I'm gonna try my best here. Delayed operation for Opcenter APS point of view is if, for example, this first operation here, this is the availability of material. So for APS point of view, this operation could start at this time. It is not starting at this time because we have a calendar preventing the operation to start earlier. But that delay here between here to here could be due to previous operation being scheduled, due to calendar exceptions, due to synchronizing constraint. But for APS point of view, this is it is a delayed operation, okay? So if I click now on highlight delayed operation, this operation here will be highlighted. But let me do something. Let me drag and drop the terminator time to be here, and let me repair the schedule now. Remember that Opcenter APS will never schedule operations before the terminator time automatically. You can drag and drop, but automatically Opcenter APS takes the terminator time as a very serious constraint. So now this operation for APS point of view, it's not delayed. So if you come here to highlight delay operation, it's not going to be highlighted. So let me simulate here a couple of delays. Okay, I'm going to do that. Let me repair, not allowing operations to be scheduled earlier. So now we have two operations delayed. So you see that this operation is starting as soon as possible, this operation is starting as soon as possible. But this operation, there is a delay here. And also this operation, there is also a delay. So if I highlight delayed operation, both of those are highlighted. Bottleneck operations is very similar, but Opcenter APS will only highlight the operation with the highest delay from this order, okay? Of course, if there is no delayed operation, then nothing will be highlighted like this, all right? So that's the difference between just delayed operations and bottleneck operations. Delayed operations can be multiple operations that are not starting as soon as possible, understanding availability of material, early start date, terminator time, and completion of the previous operation. And bottleneck operation is a single operation with the highest delay, with the biggest delay, right? Okay, so before explaining lock highlighted, unlock highlighted, I want to talk about the sequence error, which is pretty simple. If you have a sequence error, such as this, now if I click here on the validate schedule, you see that I have one error, which is exactly this. And now you can highlight that this operation is not correct, okay? So let me repair, there we go. Lock highlighted operations and unlock highlighted operations does just what this function tells you it does. Remember that right now, all of those operations are highlighted. So let me schedule everything here. So right now, everything is highlighted because everything has this colorful background, right? So everything is highlighted. So now if I come here and highlight, lock highlighted operation, everything will be locked. You see that every operation will have the lock field enabled. Same if I now do an unlock how highlighted operation, now everything got unlocked. But if you highlight some operations, such as those here, and come here and to lock highlighted operations, only those operations will be locked. And let me Control Z. And of course, now you can just highlight locked operations and unlock them if you want to, right? This is very powerful. I know it sounds silly, but this is actually pretty powerful. So let's say that you want to, for example, lock a certain quantity of operations that are to start in the next 2 weeks, right? So what you can do here, so let me cancel highlights. Let me include the start time. Setup start. Setup start, okay. So you have your setup start here, right? Let's say that you want to everything a couple of months, or maybe a little bit more than a couple of months, but whatever. So you want to highlight everything that is greater, sorry, that is less than this, right? So every operation that is starting before, so that's August 3. Okay, so you highlight all of that, and you want to lock this so those operations doesn't get unscheduled or repair, for example. So you highlight it, and now you come here and lock highlight operations. So now it's kind of a way to freeze certain operations. And of course, I'm using date here, but you can use any filter, anything you want. You want to lock a certain project, unlock a certain project, reschedule it, and then repair, whatever. That is a pretty flexible way for you to remove operations, add operations, repair, what not to repair, and so on and so forth. All right, remember that you also, if you right click here in the resource, you also have the lock all operations and unlock all operations in that resource, okay? In the resource right click menu. Okay, so now let me unlock all. Let me reschedule. Another great functionality that got recently added, it is the invert highlighted operations. So for example, only those operations are highlighted now. If you want to invert it, then you click on this. You see that those operations are the only ones not highlighted. So let me do that with more operations here. So this is highlighted now, and you want to invert highlighted operations. Okay, so let me unschedule only those, for example, and there we go. So this is also a pretty neat way. It was a suggestion to include, and I'm glad they did. And it adds to your toolbox of functionalities in order to create the schedule that you want to create. Of course, another way to highlight is using the operation properties. So I recommend you watching the operation property window video in order to understand how to use this to highlight. Okay, and that's it for this video. Thank you.